Kai, a human warrior known across many star systems for his courage and skill, had faced battles no one on Earth could even imagine. His life was a series of wars, missions, and survival against impossible odds. Yet nothing in his experience had prepared him for what he was about to face on Zorinthia, a planet of floating crystal cities and glowing forests that shimmered under a purple sky. He had been called here not as a fighter, but as a possible savior for the Zorinthian princess Lyra, whose life was hanging by a fragile thread. The moment Kai's ship landed on the silvery platform outside the palace, he felt a strange tension in the air. The wind carried the scent of alien flora, sweet and sharp at the same time. The crystal towers reflected sunlight in a way that made it seem as if the entire city was alive, breathing light. Yet despite the beauty, a shadow of fear lingered over the palace. Guards moved quickly, their faces etched with worry, while healers whispered urgently to each other. Something was very wrong. Kai walked through the grand entrance, his boots echoing on the polished floors. The palace was more magnificent than any human structure he had ever seen. Walls that shifted color, floating lights, and an energy that hummed under his feet. But no grandeur could hide the sickness that filled the air. At the end of a long hallway he saw her. Princess Lyra lay on a crystal bed, her figure delicate and fragile. Her skin, normally radiant with a soft violet glow, was pale, almost translucent. Her hair flowed like liquid amethyst across the bed, but it seemed to lack life. Her eyes, the color of the deepest stars, were dimmed, and her chest rose and fell weakly with each shallow breath. She was surrounded by a group of healers and palace guards, all of whom looked at Kai with a mixture of hope and desperation. Kai approached quietly, his heart tightening. He had seen death many times on battlefields, but seeing someone so young, so regal, and so beautiful in such weakness pierced him differently. "Princess Lyra?" he said gently, kneeling at the edge of her bed. His voice, calm and strong, carried the weight of a promise without words. A healer stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. You are the one the council chose. But understand, this is dangerous. She is dying. No Zorinthian medicine works. Only human blood. But the risk to you is great." Her voice faltered as she spoke, and Kai's eyes met hers. Kai swallowed hard. He had always known that being human made him physically weaker than these alien beings, with their advanced biology and radiant energy, and yet he felt something inside him ignite, a fire of determination that no illness, no alien sickness could extinguish. "Tell me what I must do," he said. His words were steady, even as a cold shiver ran down his spine. The healer hesitated, then nodded. "You must give her your blood. Your life essence can flow into hers and might stabilize her, but there is no guarantee. It could cost you everything." Kai looked at Lyra, her chest barely moving, her lips trembling with each breath. The fear in him was replaced with certainty. "If my life can save hers, then it is worth it. I am ready," he said, placing a firm hand over his chest. For the first time, he didn't think of battles or medals or glory. He thought only of saving her life. Lyra's eyes flickered weakly, and she whispered almost unintelligibly, "Human." "Why?" Kai smiled faintly, though his chest ached with an unknown fear. "Because humans, we never leave someone behind," he said. And with that, the process began. Machines hummed, lights pulsed, and the first connection between human and alien was made. Kai's heart raced, but not from fear. It was from hope. Hope that even in the darkest moments, one human could change the fate of an entire alien world. The glowing device hummed softly as it connected Kai's arm to Lyra's, a thin tube glowing faintly as blood began to flow from him to the frail princess. Every heartbeat of his felt amplified, echoing in his ears like a war drum. He had faced countless enemies and walked through death many times, but this was different. Here the life of another depended entirely on him, and the weight of that responsibility pressed on his chest like an iron shield. The head healer, an older Zorinthian named Thaline, watched carefully. "Are you certain, human?" she asked again, her voice low and serious. "Once the transfer begins, it cannot be reversed. You could lose everything, your strength, your energy, even your life." Kai didn't hesitate. He looked at Lyra lying there, her chest barely rising, her fingers trembling as if they were made of glass. Her eyes, dimmed from pain, flickered weakly as if searching for hope. "I'm certain," he said. His voice was quiet but firm, carrying a calm that surprised even him. If I can save her, then I must try. Thalene's eyes softened, though a flicker of worry remained. Many humans are fragile. You may not survive the strain, but if anyone can, perhaps it is your kind. There is courage in humans that we cannot fully understand. Kai nodded, gripping the edge of the crystal bed as the machine began to pulse faster. Slowly, steadily, his blood entered her veins. Immediately he felt a strange sensation. Warmth spreading through his body, stronger than any heat he had ever felt. It was as if a part of him was leaving him, flowing into Lyra, and yet he felt something return. A spark, small but unmistakable, flickered within him. Lyra's hand twitched slightly. Her eyes opened a fraction and she gasped, a soft, strangled sound that sent a shiver through Kai. I feel warmth, she whispered, her voice weak but filled with wonder. Her violet eyes glimmered faintly as the dim glow of her body began to shift toward a gentle golden light. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Kai saw it and felt hope ignite inside him. Hours seemed to pass in mere minutes. Every drop of his blood carried more than just life. It carried determination, courage, and the stubborn human refusal to surrender. Kai felt his muscles weaken, his vision blur, and a heavy weight pressing on his chest. Yet in the midst of exhaustion, he felt a strange connection to Lyra. It was as if their souls were linked through this simple act, and that link gave him strength he never knew existed. Thalene leaned closer, watching the transfer carefully. It's unprecedented, she murmured, almost to herself. No human has ever donated to a Zorinthian before. Yet he endures. And she responds, the bond, it is forming. Lyra's lips curved slightly, a faint smile breaking through the pain. Human, why would you do this? She asked, her voice trembling but alive with curiosity. Kai's tired eyes met hers, full of quiet intensity. Because we don't leave anyone behind, he said again. Not on the battlefield. Not in life. And never. In death. The machine hummed louder as the connection deepened. Kai's arm shook, his body weakened, but he clenched his teeth and refused to falter. Each pulse of his blood into Lyra was like a tiny battle he had to win. And slowly, miraculously, he began to see results. Her glow became stronger, her breathing steadier, and her body, though still frail, started to accept life again. It was dangerous, it was exhausting, and it could have ended in disaster. But in that quiet room filled with crystal light, the impossible seemed within reach. A human, small and fragile compared to these glowing beings, had chosen to give everything for another, and in that choice he began to change not just one life, but the future of an entire alien world. The room pulsed with a soft, golden light as Kai continued to give his blood to Princess Lyra. With every heartbeat, he felt more of himself flow into her, yet something miraculous was happening. He was not weakening as he had feared. Instead, he felt a strange warmth spreading through his body, a strange energy he had never experienced before. It was as if Lyra's life force was reaching back toward him, strengthening him even as he weakened her illness. Lyra's breathing grew steadier, and her hands, once trembling and lifeless, began to regain strength. Her eyes, violet like distant stars, shone with faint clarity. I feel alive, she whispered, her voice weak but full of wonder. She blinked rapidly as if trying to understand what was happening. How is this possible? Kai gripped the edge of the crystal bed, exhaustion threatening to topple him. His vision blurred and beads of sweat ran down his face. Yet when he looked into Lyra's eyes, he felt a bond he could not explain. It was as if their souls were touching, their lives entwined in a connection beyond words, beyond species. He realized something astonishing. He was not just giving life, he was sharing it. And in return, she was giving him a strength he had never known existed. The head healer, Thalene, watched with awe and disbelief. This is impossible, she murmured. No human has ever been compatible with a Zorinthian. Yet he endures, and she responds. There is a connection forming, a bond that defies all logic. Lyra's lips curved slightly, a soft smile breaking through the pain. She raised a trembling hand and reached toward Kai. Human, why would you risk yourself for me? She asked, her voice filled with amazement. Kai looked at her, his tired eyes steady and full of warmth. Because humans, we fight for each other. We protect each other. We never give up on someone who needs us. You're not just a princess, Lyra. You're a life worth saving, and I will do whatever it takes. As the blood flowed, an extraordinary change began. A golden shimmer spread across Lyra's body, brighter than the soft violet glow of her natural aura. The room seemed to hum with energy, and Kai felt the bond between them grow stronger with each pulse. It was more than life flowing from him into her. It was a shared heartbeat, a merging of courage, hope, and determination. Kai's body trembled, fatigue pressing down on him like never before, but he refused to falter. Every drop of blood he gave carried more than life. It carried the strength of human resilience, the stubborn refusal to surrender, and the fierce hope that even the impossible could be achieved. Lyra's gaze held his, her eyes now filled with recognition and gratitude. "You are extraordinary," she whispered. "Not just for giving me life, but for showing me the power of humans." Kai smiled faintly, feeling his strength ebb but also feeling a strange surge within him, as if Lyra's own life was flowing back into him in a gentle, sustaining stream. The bond they shared was no longer just physical. It was emotional, spiritual, a link that neither species had ever experienced. Thaleen stepped back, awe written across her face. "I have studied Zorinthian biology for decades," she said quietly, "and yet what I see here, I cannot explain. He is fragile. She is dying, and yet together they have created something miraculous." Hours passed, yet the energy between them never waned. Kai, though exhausted, felt a new strength coursing through him, a life force born not just of his own blood, but of trust, courage, and selfless determination. And Lyra, once pale and fading, now radiated a soft golden light, her chest rising steadily with every breath. For the first time since he arrived, Kai allowed himself a moment of hope. They had faced the impossible together, and against all odds, a miracle was beginning to bloom. The human warrior and the alien princess, linked by courage and sacrifice, had created a bond that could change everything, not just for them, but for the world around them. And in that quiet, glowing room, Kai realized something he had never felt before, that sometimes the greatest strength does not come from muscles or weapons, but from the heart, the willingness to risk everything for another life, and the belief that even the smallest human can make the impossible real. Just as the golden glow around Lyra and Kai grew brighter, an alarm blared through the palace. Red warning lights flashed, casting long shadows across the crystal floors. Kai's heart sank. He had sensed danger, but now it was real. Through the massive windows, he could see the enemy fleet approaching. Dark, sleek ships armed with weapons far beyond human or Zorinthian technology descended toward the city. Kai's body ached, weakened from giving so much of his blood. His muscles trembled and his vision blurred at the edges, but when he saw the fear in the eyes of Lyra's guards and the citizens who were running for safety, a surge of determination washed over him. This was no longer just about saving the princess. It was about protecting everyone who had trusted them. He gritted his teeth and rose to his feet, his sword clutched tightly in his hand. Each step felt heavy, almost impossible, but he kept moving. The bond with Lyra pulsed in his veins, giving him energy he had never known. He realized that this connection was not only healing her, but also strengthening him in ways he could not explain. He was still human, fragile by alien standards, but somehow he felt unstoppable. The enemy ships began their attack, firing beams of energy that tore through the city's defenses. Kai met the first wave, his sword moving in perfect rhythm, slicing through the energy blasts as if guided by some unseen force. Every strike, every movement was sharper, faster, and more precise than any human had a right to achieve. The bond with Lyra was guiding him, their shared life force synchronizing his actions with hers. Yet the strain was immense. Kai's chest burned, his head spun, and his legs threatened to give out. Each swing of his sword cost more than the last, yet he refused to stop. Around him, the Zorinthian soldiers fought valiantly, but their strength alone could not match the overwhelming power of the enemy. Only Kai, fueled by courage and the human spirit, could turn the tide. Lyra, now sitting up and glowing brighter than ever, raised her hand slightly, as if sensing his struggle. "Kai, don't give up." Her voice echoed in his mind, calm yet powerful, as though reaching across the bond they shared. Her energy flowed into him, reinforcing his strength even as his own body protested. Step by step, he pushed back the enemy. Ships exploded around him in showers of light and fire, their remnants scattering across the skies. Citizens watched from the safety of crystal towers, their eyes wide with amazement and fear. A fragile human was holding back an alien fleet that had come to destroy their world. But the effort took its toll. Kai stumbled, his sword dropping from his trembling hands. The room spun around him and darkness threatened to pull him under. He could feel himself fading, the life he had given Lyra now pulling him toward the edge of consciousness. Panic gripped him for a moment, but then he felt her energy again, warm and steady, flowing into him. "You are not alone," Lyra's voice said softly, but with unshakable certainty. "Together, we are stronger." Kai gritted his teeth and rose once more, each step a battle against his own body. The enemy faltered as they saw the human rise again, guided by something they could not understand. With a roar of defiance, Kai surged forward, striking with precision, slicing through enemy forces with the energy and determination of someone possessed. For the first time in history, a human warrior was not only saving an alien princess but was leading her people to victory against overwhelming odds. And even as his body screamed in protest, Kai realized that the bond they shared had created something miraculous. A link between human courage and alien power, stronger than any weapon, more unbreakable than any shield. The battle raged outside the palace walls, but inside, something extraordinary was happening. Kai, drained almost to the point of collapse, felt Lyra's life flowing through him in a way he had never imagined. Her voice, though weak, carried strength and clarity that seemed to push back the pain that weighed on him. "Kai, together," she whispered. That single word ignited a spark in his chest, a surge of energy he could not explain. He rose again, trembling but determined. The glow from Lyra grew brighter, golden and warm, surrounding both of them in a radiant light that filled the room and spilled into the palace halls. The enemy, who had been attacking relentlessly, faltered as if the air itself had changed, heavy with power neither side had ever witnessed. Citizens and soldiers alike stopped, their mouths open in shock. Kai's sword, heavy in his hands, now felt light. His movements became sharper, faster, and almost effortless. Every swing sent a shockwave through the attacking forces, tearing enemy ships apart with precision and strength. He could feel Lyra's energy guiding him, filling his muscles and synchronizing with his heartbeat. Every strike was not only skill but shared determination, a combination of human courage and alien power working in harmony. The enemy realized too late that they were facing something beyond understanding. A human, fragile and mortal, was holding back an entire fleet, not with weapons or machines, but with sheer willpower and an unbreakable bond with the alien princess. Kai felt himself fading again, weakness threatening to pull him down, but Lyra's golden glow touched him like sunlight on a stormy day. "I am with you." Her voice echoed inside his mind, steady and sure. The combined energy surged outward, hitting the enemy ships with unstoppable force. Explosions erupted, lighting up the sky like fireworks, and the fleet began to retreat, their ships scattered and broken. The citizens of Zorinthia erupted into cheers, though Kai barely noticed. His focus was on Lyra, her chest rising steadily, her eyes brighter than they had ever been. Finally, when the last of the enemy ships had vanished, Kai collapsed to the crystal floor, his body trembling violently. For a long moment he couldn't move, couldn't breathe properly. The exhaustion was total, overwhelming, a darkness pressing from every direction. But then he felt it, Lyra's hand, warm and strong, touching his arm. "You did it," she whispered, her eyes shining with tears of relief and joy. Her glow enveloped him, not just in light but in life itself. Slowly, he felt the energy return to his body, repairing the fatigue, the strain, and the near-fatal weakness that had overtaken him. The golden light flowed through both of them, a miraculous connection that had turned despair into triumph. Kai's head lifted, his eyes meeting hers. "You healed me?" he asked, disbelief and gratitude mixing in his voice. Lyra smiled, a gentle but radiant expression that seemed to light the entire room. "Not just me, Kai. We healed each other. Your courage, your sacrifice, it awakened something within me. Together we are stronger than anyone could imagine." Thaleen, the head healer, watched with wide eyes. This has never happened before. A human's blood, a princess's life, and a miracle has been born. The bond between you, it is beyond comprehension. Kai laughed softly, a tired but genuine sound. "I didn't know we could do this," he said, feeling the energy settle into his limbs. "Be ought when it matters. Humans never give up, we just fight." Lyra reached out and took his hand fully, holding it as if they were the only two beings in the universe. "You are extraordinary, Kai. Not just for your strength, but for your heart. You saved me, and our world. For the first time since he arrived on Zorinthia, Kai allowed himself to relax. He had given everything, risked everything, and yet he was alive, and the princess, once fading, now glowed with life and hope. Together they had not just survived, they had created something new, something powerful, and something no one would ever forget. The palace, once tense and shadowed with fear, now radiated light and warmth. Outside, the citizens celebrated, not just for their safety, but for the miracle they had witnessed, a human warrior and an alien princess, united by courage, sacrifice, and a bond that had changed everything. Days had passed since the battle, and the palace of Zorinthia was slowly returning to its normal rhythm. Yet something had changed forever. Princess Lyra was no longer the fragile figure lying on a crystal bed, weak and fading. She stood tall, her violet eyes now bright and full of life, her golden aura shining softly around her. She moved with elegance and strength, her steps measured but confident as if she had been reborn. Kai sat nearby, still recovering from the exhaustion of giving so much of himself. His body had healed, but the memory of the strain lingered, a reminder of the sacrifice he had made. Yet unlike before, there was no fear, only quiet pride. He had faced impossible odds, and against all logic he had survived. Not just survived, he had succeeded in saving a life, an entire city, and in a way, an entire species. Lyra approached him, her eyes searching his face. "Kai," she said softly, her voice filled with awe and something deeper. "Your blood, it did more than heal me. It awakened something within me, something I didn't know existed." Kai tilted his head, curious and cautious. "What do you mean?" he asked, still cautious despite the bond they shared. Lyra smiled gently, her hand reaching out to touch his arm. "Humans, you are remarkable. Your courage, your determination, your willingness to risk everything for another. It is beyond what we imagined. When your blood flowed into me, it didn't just heal my body. It created a bond, a connection, a bridge between our species." Kai felt a warmth in his chest at her words, a feeling of pride mixed with humility. He had always known humans were resilient, but to hear it recognized by someone so different, so powerful, filled him with a strange, deep joy. "I just did what any human would do," he said softly. "I couldn't stand by and watch someone die, especially someone who needed help." Lyra shook her head, her eyes shining with tears. "No, Kai, you did more than that. Your courage, your sacrifice, it changed everything. Our healers are calling it miraculous. They say your bond has unlocked a potential in me, a way to harness energy and strength we never thought possible. You didn't just save me, you changed our world." Deline, the head healer, entered the room, her face still reflecting awe. "Your bond is unprecedented," she said, turning to Kai. "No human has ever interacted with a Zorinthian this way. Your blood didn't just heal her, it strengthened her in ways we cannot fully understand. You have proven. Humans are extraordinary." Kai looked at her, surprise mixing with pride. "Extraordinary?" he repeated. "I'm just a human, I'm normal." Lyra reached out, taking both his hands in hers. "Normal? You risked your life without hesitation. You gave everything for me, for my people. That is not normal. That is courage beyond measure. That is what makes humans extraordinary." For a moment, Kai felt overwhelmed. He had fought countless battles, faced death countless times, but nothing had made him feel the way Lyra's words did. Her gratitude, her recognition, her awe, it was more powerful than any victory in battle. Outside the palace, the people of Zorinthia celebrated the recovery of their princess. But the true celebration was hidden in the quiet moments between Kai and Lyra. A warrior and a princess, human and alien, standing together. They shared a bond that no one could break, a connection that had been forged in sacrifice, strengthened in battle, and made unbreakable in life. Kai finally smiled, a slow, genuine smile that reached his tired eyes. "Then, I guess humans really can do the impossible," he said, his voice filled with quiet pride. Lyra returned his smile, her hand still holding his. "Yes, Kai, and you proved it. Not just to me, but to all of Zorinthia. Humanity has never shone brighter." And in that moment, Kai understood something he had always known deep inside. Humans, though small and fragile by alien standards, had a strength of heart, courage, and spirit that could change the universe. He had not only saved a life, he had shown an entire species the true power of humanity. Weeks had passed since the battle, and the skies of Zorinthia were calm again. The once threatened city gleamed under the soft glow of the crystal towers, a sign of life restored and hope renewed. Princess Lyra moved through her palace with confidence, her golden aura a visible symbol of the miracle she had survived. Citizens and soldiers alike still spoke in whispers about the human who had changed everything. Kai, the warrior whose courage had defied all expectations, Kai, meanwhile had grown accustomed to the quiet that followed chaos. His body was fully recovered, though he carried the memory of every strain, every heartbeat that had been spent giving life to Lyra. Yet with each memory he felt pride rather than pain. He had done what no one had thought possible, and in doing so, he had forged a bond that would last far longer than the glow of any crystal or the power of any weapon. Lyra found him in the palace gardens one morning, the sunlight reflecting off the floating crystals around them. She approached slowly, a gentle smile on her lips, her eyes glowing with warmth. "Kai," she said softly, her voice carrying a mix of gratitude, awe, and something deeper. "You saved more than my life. You saved my people, our city, our future." Kai looked at her, humility mixed with quiet wonder in his eyes. I just did what anyone would do," he said, though even he knew the truth was greater than his words. It had taken courage, strength, and a willingness to risk everything, and yet he had felt alive in a way he had never known. Lyra reached out and took his hand, holding it as though the simple touch could convey everything words could not. "No," she said firmly. "You didn't just save lives, you proved something. You proved the strength of your species. Humans, you are extraordinary. Your courage, your heart, it shines brighter than any star." Kai felt warmth spread through him at her words. He had fought countless battles, faced death on worlds beyond imagining, but nothing compared to this. Here, recognition came not through medals or fame, but through the understanding of someone who had lived and survived because of him. And that recognition was more powerful than any victory he had ever won. Over the following weeks, the people of Zorinthia began to tell stories of the human warrior. Songs were sung of Kai's courage, murals were painted in the crystal halls, and children played at being humans, saving princesses from impossible odds. Kai never sought praise, but he watched quietly as the tales spread, knowing that what mattered most was not glory, but the message it sent. Humanity was fearless, compassionate, and capable of miracles. Lyra stood beside him often, watching him with a mixture of respect and fondness. The bond between them had grown beyond healer and patient, beyond warrior and princess. It was a connection built on trust, courage, and shared sacrifice, a link that neither time nor distance could break. She often said with a laugh and a smile, "You are small, Kai, but your heart is bigger than my entire kingdom." Kai smiled, a faint chuckle escaping him. "Maybe humans are small," he said, "but we never give up. We fight, we endure, and we care, even when it seems impossible." And in that moment, as the twin suns of Zorinthia set behind the floating crystal towers, casting golden light across the city, Kai realized the truth of it. Humans, fragile as they might seem, carried a power that could not be measured in weapons, strength, or technology. It was courage, it was compassion, it was the willingness to risk everything for another life. That was the true strength of humanity. Princess Lyra squeezed his hand, and together they watched the citizens below celebrate life renewed, a world saved, and a bond formed that would forever unite two species. Kai, the human warrior, had become more than a hero. He had become a symbol of hope, courage, and the undeniable power of the human heart. And as night fell over Zorinthia, Kai finally understood what he had always known deep inside. No matter the odds, no matter the danger, humans could achieve the impossible. And when they did, the universe would never be the same again.